Welcome to the Language of Markets live session, June the 14th. It's Freaky Friday. Welcome back. We were just babbling about nice run in the euro and nice run in Her Majesty over here. Of course, beauty's in the eye of the beholder if you're on it or not, huh? Phil says same size swing in the euro daily. That's right. We're tracking the euro daily, aren't we? Sure enough. All right, we're going to try and get to our type 2 today. I want to go over a few markets. We're going to keep on the pressure cookers, and we got all sorts of things to talk about. I saw you guys posting in the examples in the practice. That's good. I saw you posting the pound. So we're going to have a look at that. See, that's nice. You guys do a little work in the pound, and we'll do a little work here and take it apart. We should definitely call it GPP Majesty rather than cable. Yeah, I never understood cable. You know, Nate, I started with stocks and I spent most of my time in futures. And so currencies are actually, relatively new to me in the last 10 years or so, 8 years or so. And so I never understood cable. Cable going across the ocean? I have no idea. Adam, you know? I am not privy to that history. I mean, we got loonies and kiwis, but cable? All right. Let's do some work. Edward, you know? Why is it called the cable? It's just a nickname for the British pound there. That's what I thought, right? The transatlantic cable. All right, so I was close. And then they laid the fiber. All right. Global Crossing in that crew. And then they tapped into the cable so we can spy on each other. Yeah. All right, so let's get to work. Let's stay on theme here. So we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today, but let's stay on theme. We've been looking at pressure cookers, and we're still in investigative mode here. And, we can all have some fun, but we all want to see what there is to see and what there is to learn from these things. We all want to be able to map a market so we can begin to see and understand it clearly. And even if we don't get the trade today, right? Even if we don't get it today, then we can start to add to our learning at least. What we want to do is, get to where we can look at a market and, not be so confused, be able to wrap some structure around this price flow and see what's going on. And this is something, you should do definitely at the end of the week as a review, because during the week you're kind of on the pressure, you're on the bubble to be doing stuff, and you might not see some things. So let's just take a look, all right? Let's just take a look at this euro from, where we started this week, basically, okay? And then we'll map it, and we're going to do this. We can map it a lot of ways, but we're going to do this basically with swings and, using this framework of a pressure cooker, and then even begin to talk about that a little bit more. So, if you're watching this market, you see it open, you see it trying. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here because it tends to add to the confusion, and I'm trying to subtract confusion. One of the things we all tend to do, and we learn a lot. I know I put out a lot of stuff to learn. We learn a lot, but we try to do too much at once. We're all so wired. I mean, just being in this society, we're wired. I mean, all day long we got telephones and television and news and things beaming at us. I mean, our nervous systems are practically fried if we looked at them. Just so much multitasking, got to do this, got to do that. And it's all too much. And there is a lot to learn from this, but we do have to learn how to slow down. We do. And this is one of the things about this, doing this particular type of thing. So this way we can just sort of see in nothing but waves and maybe one little distinction within the wave. And so that helps us sort of filter all the excess. It's good to learn the excess, right? It's good to see the little clues and the tails and, you know, the struggles and all. It's good to look, to see that. But one of the objectives of this is to just back up a little bit, so all we see is that. Okay? Just back up a little bit, so all we see is that. And then we can sort of build up slowly. If you look, we are doing too much on the chart all the time. And it's better to let things come to you rather than to always go get them. We can do very simple things, you know, when you see, you know, without having to name it anything, right? We can do very simple things like, okay, price is, you know, going up like this, okay? So we can do very simple things like this. This is just a line. We don't have to name it. We don't have to do anything. We just kind of see the line the price is going on. But in this case, we're just going to look at pressure cookers. And it's easy, right? If you have a low, you just mark it. If you have a high, you mark it. Price can get right here, make a pressure cooker, and blast the high. Or, you know, price can get right here, you know, make a and blast the low. So let's just do it. I'm not going to worry about too much. I'm just going to say, all right. So it didn't absolutely blast the low, but we did blast the low. And the key thing to remember about the pressure cooker is what? What's like the main characteristic, right? It's where they threw them off the cliff. That's the main characteristic. You know, we want one way or the other. Because if you can look where they threw them off the cliff, you can use that principle in a lot of different ways. And so we can just look where they threw them off the cliff. And Edward gave a whole history on the cable there. 1867. The telegraph cable. Morse code, huh? That's cool. Thank you, Edward. Hey, Nate. Overwhelmed, start moving things, removing things, and get simple. Expansion after contraction. Yeah. I have a basic rule, and everybody's got their own personal limits. But whenever you feel overwhelmed, start subtracting things. That plain and simple. In the end, I really just want to see in waves. See, I'm already just starting to see in waves. Just seeing in waves. I'm making one more little distinction saying, okay, I can see, look. I can see where they threw, and see the line's just helping me to see this. I could see, because this is a gap, I could see where they tossed them off the cliff. And, you know, are there some clues and all? Yeah. Oh, well, you know, what are you going to do? So I can see where they tossed them off the cliff. And I can now watch. And I can do swings, right? I can start doing major swings. See, notice I'm also not adding a lot of complications over here. Okay, I do have another swing, don't I? Okay, this is one little complication. It's not bad. We have major swing, minor swing, pressure cooker. That's not a whole lot. Okay. watch. All right. So what do you notice? See, look at the map now. Okay, look at the map now. What do we notice about the minor swings? Can we put the same framework we did in the major swing? Same size, right? But as long as we're looking at pressure cookers, can you see where they threw them off the cliff of the minor swing? You can see where they, where they tossed them. See? New low. Follow it back up to where they tossed them. Okay, so now we added another dimension to this framework. So now we're learning. And these both have the same characteristics. It's just one's bigger than the other. They both have swings. And they both have a place where they get thrown off the cliff. So how many people, anybody see this in the Euro this week as it happened? You saw it, Phil? You saw the minor too? Yeah? Well, why didn't you call and tell me? Because I didn't even notice it. I get you guys with your alert service going. Jeez. And that kind of thing happens to us, right? That kind of thing happens to us. See, I didn't even notice that. But notice from what we learned, this is absolutely, next time, this is absolutely what we've learned here. Just like this. Now, I'm not saying we know for sure. Now, if this gets busted, it would be like a type 2 off of this. I mean, you don't know what it's going to be. But look how we mapped it. Just very simply. Major swing, minor swing. Major pressure cooker, minor pressure cooker. And then I want you guys to maybe look at where you were at during the week when you were looking at this and see that you were something else when this was very easy to see. And so, I took a flash look at this last night. And I said, oh boy, look at that tail. All right? I just looked at that and said, oh boy, look at that tail. If that tail gets busted, I'm going long. I didn't even consider going short the tail. So if that tail gets zoomed and gapped, I'm going long. I didn't even consider, right? Okay, so I was focused on the swings that didn't look at how the swings that didn't look at how the swings were being formed. Yeah, we just want to take a look at where our focus is. And you might not be using pressure cookers, and that's fine. But we do want to take a look and do choose something that we're going to use. We're going to learn a lot of different frameworks as we go. And we're just working on this one. I happen to be working on this one right now. And this frames up your decisions rather nicely. See, I didn't see it either. My focus was someplace else. But this also teaches me something. This also teaches me something about price. So now the framework's teaching me something about price. So it's teaching me the minor can do a push, and that's showing me some momentum, some let's hurry in the market. So the minor can do this push here. And that's showing me some let's hurry up and get going in the market. And, you know, we can frame that within the bigger picture if we wanted to with the median line. See, normally, if I was just median line trading this, okay, if I was median line trading this, I would draw this line. If all I was doing was median line trading, I would draw this line. And then I would see it overshot a little bit, overshot a little bit, overshot a little bit, and then I would draw a sliding parallel. And I know, Adam, you keep teaching me how to do this, and I keep forgetting. Like this. And so you see how the sliding parallel is. And so if I was just median line trading this, I would do this with that sliding parallel like that. And then I'd be shooting for the rest of this leg down in here. And so that's, and you can do it with just the median line as well, right? It's a swing, you know, understand your swings. And it is a beauty, understand your swings and direction. And I'll be doing sessions where I get back in here stretching my legs with the lines. I will. But I think a solid foundation of how price moves before we go too far into, you know, all the action-reaction stuff would be beneficial. But median line, no median line, you know, we want to learn from that. Oh, okay. So that was a nice solid pressure cooker on this minor swing. Didn't reach the major swing. You don't know if it will or won't in here. You know, sometimes there's some clues to this. You know, remember we talked about you get this whole impulse and, you know, work your way back down kind of a thing. And, you know, that's kind of what we've done. It's just a great big fat mountain in there. But I do want everybody to see that, or at least see it in your review work. And so if we look, we can see, okay, and we can draw a model. And so picture it in your mind. So this one just barely breaks the low, comes back, and starts tripping over itself. And in this case, it made a minor, same size swing into, you know, and notice I use a dotted box, you know, just for my own color coding. And even just doing this kind of work and slowing down a little bit is helpful. And so this kind of situation happens in markets. And so now this is something we've learned, a type 1 push trade on the minor. And so now this is something we can take a picture of and put into our research and even go investigate very similar price actions in the past that are like this in any market. And you know what? Just the relaxing into this and doing the work, you start to learn. Hey, Ricardo, and I haven't forgotten your question, Ricardo. You were following that, very interesting, and he shows a nice chart. Yeah, see, you know, I see the way you're looking at it. And, you know, Ricardo's also right here, swing to swing, very nice, right? See, swing to swing. Swing to swing, you're looking at that thing, and you can modify, shift that if you want, and you see what it's showing you. But the main thing I want you to understand, that this is the minor and this is the major. It's very easy to see. And, you know, if you're relaxed enough and in tuned enough, boom. You guys know, I know quite a bit about this stuff. I mean, I've got thousands of hours just, looking at this. And I looked at it last night and blanked out. I wanted to go long. I mean, I didn't get myself in trouble, but I didn't see it. I mean, I was kind of wrapped up doing other things, but that just shows me if I want to keep making my lunch money, I do need to dedicate some time to paying attention, to giving the euro my attention, even if it's not doing anything for me at the moment. I kind of wrote it off at one point, saying, all right, I don't know what you're doing. And I didn't give it my attention anymore. And that happens to us, right? Back to the patience thing. But some days this is another really big point. We're not doing this by formula. Some days that's very easy for me to see when, I got a clear head. It's very easy for me to see that. It's very easy for me to see the tripping and willing to take a risk right in here. And even though I sort of created, the outline of this structure, if my head isn't there, I don't see it. And so that's a very interesting part of trading to understand. Very interesting. That's why I tell people there's no making it as a trader. People think you make it as a trader. There's no, you're only as good as your last trade. See, as a trader, you're living by your wits. You're only as good as your last trade. You have to bring yourself back to it. You have to give yourself over to the trading every single time. It's a humble thing. You have to, quit worrying about you so much. I know we're the most important things in the world. And make it about them. And we have to do that every single day. And, it ain't always easy, right? And Phil says mirror bars on both major and minor is a clue. Yeah, and Phil's seeing the clues. And he's seeing both. Look at the mirror bars on both majors and minors. I mean, they're very similar. And there's even more similarities in here, Phil. And it's good if you see them, right, without going down a checklist. You're just seeing them because you're nice and relaxed there. Now, the trick is to see all that stuff and be relaxed while you're getting ready to put your lunch money on the line. And that just takes time and practice, and you don't always do it. And Nate says, probably a good chart for looking at the fulcrum and how price turns some other day. And yes, once you get this far, then you can start to go and play a little bit, right? And the fulcrum being the last swing broke. And then you can start to go and do a little bit of playing with some of the things you learned. There's a lot of other interesting things going on in this chart. But note that you didn't really need them to make the money. And that's an interesting realization. Now, if you're using the other interesting things and they helped you see the price flow the way you needed to see it, it's great. That's a good thing. But it's really about, getting your head straight. And then, we can slow down and tell the story, right? We pulled back and price started on its way up. Price started on its way up. It's floating. It's floating. It's floating. It's floating. Okay, we've decided we're not going to do that anymore. We're now swinging downward. And so it's always helpful, what are the facts, Jack? And so we could look at the facts related to this guy. And that brings us back. And so that's a nice, easy chart. Now, I saw you guys looking at the pound, and I even have some work here. So let's have a look at the pound real quick. And maybe we'll get into trade somewhere down the road here. All right. So let's look at this pound. And so I got a question here, or somebody's sharing it with me, right? I saw you guys post this. Thank you, Mike. He says it's really easy to get confused and lost. And yes, thank you, it is. We don't all admit that. Okay? And so this is him working the chart, thinking about, doing this exercise. And you can see what he's doing. Right? He's marking a swing. He's just thinking that price took out the LSB. Okay? You got a minor LSB and you got a major right here. So make that distinction. You've marked this one and then you've got that one. So I think the sellers are now on. Okay, this is a good, solid conclusion. Watch. If you go like this, you can see crack. Right? It's not doing that anymore. Either that's going to expand or it's going to expand in reverse. Okay, so that's good. That's good, solid reading so far. So this is getting your hands dirty with practice. So I love these kind of things. This is getting our hands dirty with practice. Because, when you're down here on the bubble, you're going to do certain things. So he says, looking back, I can see the price didn't take out the next swing, 2 swings back. That's okay. It doesn't have to. All right? Doesn't have to. I almost got in second time, but got pissed, so I skipped it. Okay? So it looks like he tried to push this thing short. No judgment. I'm hoping to understand more about when I pull the trigger, sit back, or buy. Okay. And then he looked at it. He did sort of a review. See, there's that median line. So he did sort of a review on this thing. But let's look at this. And so I love this kind of work because this is real life. We all do this kind of thing. All right? And so if you look, you can see he's trying to get short in here, right? You can see even by just drawing this little median line set, you can see he's got a direction in mind. But he's also very itchy to get on. Everybody see that? You see that, Mike? You don't even have to tell me. That's normal. All right? So we want to look at this stuff. So he's got a direction in mind. And he's starting to forget some of the lessons. Because he's itchy to get on. I can see it. I can see it. But he's got some of these things just kind of marked out beautifully, okay? He really does. Now, let's look at what he's calling the PC, and let's mark this market out. So I get it. When you're live here, you want to be part of the crunch. I mean, this thing does feel like it's about to crunch. It does. Listen, I was jumping up and down in my chair wanting to get short in here. I really was. So I understand that goes on. But now let's revert back to just some simple mapping. All right? But I like this. We want to do this kind of work. All right? We want to go and see this kind of frustration. Look, I got hammered in the ES twice this week. All right? And I'm still begging the yen to, get up off the couch and get going. I got a few good trades, but these frustrations happen. And you know what? We all tend to hide this kind of stuff a little bit. That's why I love him showing it. The boundary of what we can accept frustration-wise and allow is really the boundary of our freedom. You're going to have to think about that one. It's the boundary of our freedom from that. That's profound. I slipped one in there, didn't I, Grace? Hey, Nate. Nate says, probably good chart for the... Said, I tightened my stops to PE twice, then moved towards target. On what, Nate? The pound? You see that, Edward? See, I'm learning to be a little more terse. I'll leave a little bit hang. Try to say everything. I don't remember it, Ricardo. All right. So think about this. Ricardo's asking me to repeat it. Just let it soak. I say these things, who knows? All right, this is about, now I have to go into it. See, I tried. This is about embracing our own imperfections, okay? We try to be so perfect on a chart. That's why we record the session, to get my nonsense. This is a real serious part of trading, okay? This is part of the trading that we need to get so I can hit that euro. So all of that. One of the things we need to do while we're trading and frustrated and doing things like trying to squeeze this pound down in here, and making up stuff, kind of. And so we're going to do this stuff. One of the things we need is embrace our own imperfection. All right? We're all going to be screwy when it comes to actual trading. The actual trading. You guys have seen some of my raw trader notes. I'm going to start doing them when I record them. Right? It's not exactly the model, and I'm moving, and maybe I'm even cursing a little bit. But the more you can embrace your own imperfections, all right, without the shame. That's why he said no judgment. And so basically, what I'm saying is the boundary of what we can accept, frustration-wise, is the boundary of our freedom from that stuff. That was it, Ricardo. Grace says something about your level of tolerance. Yeah, how about it's your level of tolerance of you screwing up, Grace. That's it. We have to be able to screw up like a kid running and playing and jumping and learning to walk, learning to run. And then then we're a little more free to learn because this is hard. This is hard stuff. You see how I mapped the simple euro and I couldn't even hit the trade. And I've been doing 20 some odd years, of frustrations. But I can tell you, and nobody wants to admit how stupid they look. And it's not stupid, it's just practice. Nobody, including me. Who wants to come and show stops or show where they've got it screwed up? Nobody. Nobody. We don't like that. But you have to start where you're at. You can't make it up and you can't lie about it. Doesn't work. I mean, you can lie to friends about it, and as long as they accept your story, you're all good. But, the market don't buy that. Maybe Gladwell should reword it as doing 10. Who's Gladwell? You guys lose me on some of this stuff. But just think about it, all right? I can say it easily. Cut yourself some slack. It ain't easy. Oh, the book. Oh, is he the one responsible for the whole 10,000 repetitions to expertise thing? Aha, he's the culprit. Aha. Well, there's a little something extra. You could do 100,000 and still not get it if you don't get that something extra. Erickson is the author. I don't know. Tipping, I don't know. I don't know. I'll just end up arguing with them. Let's look at the pound. I don't buy it. Take a kid, put him on the basketball court, let him shoot hoops all day, all night, all his life. Is he automatically going to become a Michael Jordan? No, there's something else going on. Something else going on. It's not just the hours. Not just the hours. There's a whole intent and attitude you approach things with. And guess what? It doesn't have to be 10,000 hours. You get your head straight. You got to do some time. It could be 2,000 hours. Everybody's different. I hate the box of statistics that puts it in. And so before I get going on a rant here, I'm going to go do this. So let's look at the pound. All right, let's map it. So you can see that what this is, he was pushing. Let's just do some simple swings, guys. First, let's follow the market up. Biggest swing. It ain't quite doing that anymore. And you can kind of look and see, whoops, you can kind of look and see a line and see a crack. So this is what I did in this market. And then I thought, okay, this is either going to be a type 2, right, expand and run, or a type 3 along this line somewhere. But now let's look pressure cooker wise. So if we do this swing now, because I saw you guys do homework on it, so let me see if I can frame this up. Remember I told you to look for significant pressure cookers, but if I'm forcing you to look here, and you're following the directions, okay, follow it back up, and you tell me where price threw them, where price decided it wants to crunch. See, take a look, and you guys tell me where price decided it wants to crunch. And then let's take a look at our chart here, and let's look at his pressure cooker. See, his is down here, right? Hey Adam, 12, 7, 10. Yes, you guys see it? This is the place, right in here, somewhere right in here. This is the neighborhood where we're coming off the cliff. And this is a continuation of that. So you can see by him doing this, he's literally forcing something. So he's forcing this, and then zoom and retest. Okay, so you can see he's forcing. So this, even though it didn't go blasting through, this is where they threw them off the cliff. And if I can just back up and be that objective, all right, this is where they tossed them. Because you can see with him doing something like this, he was just, kind of forcing price to do something it didn't, not ready to do yet. Okay. Now, very simple wise, when we get this far, we can do this. Right? Ricardo, the same way you did on the euro, you could do the same thing. You could do the same type of thing. And that's the length of that swing. All right? So now let's watch from here what price actually does. So it hits this pressure cooker, and as you see, there's kind of a reason I want it to blast through. Okay, it busts through it. Now it pulls back. It wanders. It wanders. See, we're building little swings now. It takes off to the upside, and it's reaching. It gets up near the high, and it's starting to pull back. And it's starting to crank, right? So now we can see, it's starting to really work its way. It's got the possibility of being a pressure cooker to the upside here. Remember process? All right. And all I'm trying to do here, I'm not trying to say you took the wrong trade, you shoulda, woulda, coulda, blah, blah, blah. All I'm trying to do is say, let's map a market and understand it. That's all. Okay, that gets beat, and we get back through. And grab the backside of it. And so one of the things we've learned here, is, although we made this distinction, this would have been the momentum trade, in here to go because it's half a swing. And so this is a good example of what a type 2 might look like on a pressure cooker. See it? See it double? So this is a good example of what a type 2 is going to look like. And you can see it. As soon as it does this and swaps, right, you can see it. So this is a good example of what a type 2, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And so put this in your bag of tricks. So this is a type 2 that did not hit the same size swing here and roll. Sweet. Also, big press at the top, right? Boom, boom, boom. They really had them fooled on this side, didn't they, Phil? And then notice after it zooms, it does come back to it, which is interesting. And so, we got a couple live type 2s we're going to pull up. And so this can actually be a very, very, very simple decision, guys. You know what makes this a very simple thing? Even if you try to push it, all right? Let's say you get stopped. What makes this a simple decision is when you start to get up here, it kind of comes in with a beautiful stop above the high. That's only 25 ticks or so. You see right here, it's starting to clue you in. And I'm not going to go into all the little clues in here, but it's starting to clue you in that, something's up. And boom. But this is the structure. Don't force these things to work or not work. They're just a way to view the market. Don't force them to work or don't force them to not work or anything like that. This is where it would go, and this is what happened. And then we want to learn some interesting things about that. So this is what a type 2 would look like. And so that's my frame of this market. And I'm not going to use that one because this is where they tossed them. So minus the pressure cooker, maybe that even adds a little too much information to this chart. This is it. Swing, swing. But guess what? This is what happens to pressure cookers that do a type 2 a lot of times. What will happen is you'll make a low, you'll get up here, and see, notice this swing is smaller. And then you'll double it out. And that's often what a type 2 is going to look like. It will double out so it's more in line with this original reaction swing. And so we're starting to get something interesting about this structure, which is gap, gap, play the minor gap. It's often a momentum situation. And we're going to keep bringing that characteristic out of it. All right, so that's a map of the pound. And by adding this structure, we can see it get washed, and then boom. And then the euro was interesting because we were able to see minor and major. All right, so let's do a little bit of practice on the type 2. We'll look at a couple trades. I want to quickly follow up something that we did live. Remember we did a change in behavior here? So I just want to make one small point in here. We did a change in behavior. Hey, look. Swing, swing. Now we're on the New Zealand 60 minutes. Swing, swing, right? Ah, something's changed. Now this is either going to be a type 2 or a type 3 in here. Now, if you're like me, I'm kind of leaning on the type 3. But notice how we draw where it fell off the cliff, and we were also drawing these swings. Okay? Why am I drawing these swings as we get near the line? Anybody? Why am I drawing this gap in these swings? Because we do everything for a reason. You know, nothing is by accident. And so we did this in that session. So I just want to follow this up to, yeah, it's for confirmation, but and change in behavior, right? And feel to see when things change. And basically because just because I got this switch, it might not work. I want to see the buyers and sellers at least get swapped. I want to see another change in behavior. We can't formulate trading all the time, but I want to see. I like it, but I want to see. I want them to show me. And so even though I'm on the wrong side of this thing, by at least marking out some things, I can keep myself out of trouble. See? I'm itching to get long. I'm thinking this is long. I'm itching. I see it. Oh, look at hold. It's grinding up. I'm itching to get long. But I'm going to wait. I'm itching to do this. But I got my most recent sellers and my most recent swing. And this is something that I am still learning, is when it's appropriate just to hop on this thing and push it. That's a hard trade for me sometimes. But that was the trade. I mean, look at it. It is still falling off the cliff. Still. And so change in behavior doesn't automatically mean. But we can do some things with swings and change in behavior to keep us out of a little bit of trouble, impatient or not. You know, so a little discipline needs to be applied there. You know, considering I don't really have a good place to hang a stop, you know, I want price to change in some way. So obviously I'm completely on the wrong side of this. But notice that I'm completely on the wrong side of this, but I ain't getting hammered. That's important. Now take a look. We're in process, right? This is live, guys. Where's the pressure cooker? Follow it up. Ah, they tossed him off the cliff. Huh? So now we can watch this guy for next week and get real curious about it. All right. Yeah, I was on the wrong side of a bunch of these markets this week. I just did not get on board, but I didn't get myself in too much trouble. All right, so now what I'd like to do is, I think I saw it in this CAD yen. I'd like to begin to make a model of type 2 pressure cooker trade for us to throw in the homework section. So this weekend we can, because they're a little trickier. All right, they're a little trickier. I want to make a model of a type 2, and we want to look for some clean examples so we can post in the session examples. Didn't we need to follow up our CAD too? Yeah, we got the CAD to follow up, but I want to get the lesson in here, Nate. We have the CAD 240 live, which we'll look at, which might be a type 2, right, or a type 3, we don't know, plus the other one. But I want to get this model because I want everybody, we practiced type 1, and now I want to get everybody practicing a type 2. It does look beautiful. There's so much to do, guys, isn't there? Yeah, you guys, it's like a candy store. All right. I'm going to use this CAD yen. And so what I'm going to do is look for, I don't know, maybe some pretty examples. Okay? Because mostly I want to understand there. Mostly I want to understand this thing. And so all I'm doing now is my practice, my learning practice. So I'm going to take this CAD yen and I'm going to see automatically that it made a type 2. That it made a type 2 that made new highs. If I go like that, can everybody tune their eyes to the chart, find the swing, and see that it made a type 2? Just give it a shot, and I'll shut up for a second. That's always too much to do, right? Do you guys see it? So maybe it's not the bestest example, but it looks pretty good to me. So let's draw the model. The model's going to look So let's draw the model. So the model is going to look something like this. We're going to come up here. The buyers are going to meet some sellers. We're going to bust the high. We're going to return to the pressure cooker. And I suggest when you find some examples, you draw the model too. So you find them up and you find them down. So the model for a type 2. So remember what we're doing here. This is going to be expand, then continue. Type 2, trade, expand, then continue. Relative to an upside pressure cooker. And since the pressure cooker is a thing, I'll capitalize cooker. But I better spell it right, huh? Cooker. It's just like a pressure cooker in your kitchen. All right? So this is going to be a type something, type 2 trade option, which is basically meaning, it expands, then continues. Oh, I didn't do that, did I? Yes, I did. I just ruined it. Type 2. I hit my mouse wheel. Type 2 trade. Expand, then continue. Relative to an upside. And we could figure out better ways to word this. When you put your own example in, you can do it any which way you want. If you come up with a better way than me, I'll adopt it. Relative to an upside pressure cooker, okay? So this is going to be a type 2 trade relative to an upside pressure cooker. That's what we're looking at here. This is the example we're looking at. And so, which means that would be a push, which means it's going to come through the pressure cooker. The minor mountain is not going to hold. That's what it is. It's a minor mountain. And very often you'll see it do about the same size leg as that leg. And so it'll bust the minor mountain, work its way back through it. Sometimes it gives a little retest and a new high. So we can say breaks minor mountain. Zooms back through to new high. So that's descriptive of this whole thing. All right. And so that's a type 2 right here. Type 2 trade option. Okay, makes sense? Now, see it in the chart? So remember, for the pressure cooker, we're going to follow the basic instructions. Follow it down through a new high. Okay, and so this is what we do. We just begin to structure a chart. You guys don't realize it, right? If you can do that much, I'm telling you, you're ahead of most of the traders in the game that have no clue and watching the news and the chat rooms for information. And so we're up here, new high. We follow it back down. And look at this. See, that's a nice lift. It's a beautiful lift. Beautiful lift. And see, as we take our time with this, see, this is the opposite of that pound. As we take our time with this, there's a clarity that starts to happen in our vision. And that's what we need when it comes time to actually take the trade. There's a clarity that starts to happen. And so just doing this work, even though it's practice and it's nothing to do with the trade today, it sinks into the bones. Yeah, and this comes with a stop and everything. And let's also notice. Let's also notice, like the pound, is it the same? It's close. So here's one of the things you can see. Now look as I keep structuring. Look as I keep structuring. This would have been the minor push. That would have been the minor push. And then this is the major over here. But that's the minor, and this is the major. And sometimes it holds the minor and runs, like in the euro, right? That would have been like the euro. And then sometimes it falls deeper. This market wanted to do more of a lope. It's just swings. Sometimes the swings want to, they're little, it's like taking a deep breath. They don't want to take short breaths. They want to take a deep breath and just lope. And, sometimes they just want to take short, quick breaths. That's all it is. And we just need to get used to seeing this on the chart. And it's a beauty when we can begin to do that. Hey, Raj, it stretched the swing like the pound. Yeah, it stretched it out, right? It stretched it out. So basically, later on, Raj, all right, we're going to see something like this. Falling into the empty space of a gap on the left. See, now I'm adding a little extra information. So all I'm doing now is planting some seeds, because we've talked about this, right? When we crack this and capitulate into that. But this is for later on. We need training. We need training first. We have to be able to do this before we start adding too much. But you don't even need a whole lot. And so, and we can see the interaction. Okay? We get here. We come through, we retest, and the minute we get back here, zoom and retest on the back side. You guys see the two retests? So that's a good level. All right, so that's a good map, but let's keep working at it. Let's take this little guy here. There's our little minor swing again. So what if we were to isolate minor swings? You know, what if we were to isolate minor swings in this guy, you know? If we were to isolate minor swings, we could see that. What if we were to say, all right, where's our new pressure cooker now? Where does it, I mean, it's not a drive through the high, but I got to say my new pressure cooker, this looks like the place right in here where they decided, see, right here, they're just toying with the high. But right here, they decided we're going to go through the high. And so this would be the next pressure cooker. And so, if price was to hold this, this would be a momentum. If price was to, you know, keep coming down, it might do another, you know, loping trade. Let's see what happens in this case. So you can see in this case, we can call this MOMO. It stands for momentum. All right? And we can call this not MOMO, right? See, this could have been MOMO. What I'm doing is breaking down the chart for an understanding. So don't think, where do I trade right now and all that. This could have been MOMO, but it wasn't. This was MOMO. All right? So I'm just breaking down this chart for an understanding in here. That's all. But let's leave it at this. And you know, we can take a picture. This is a type 2 trade option. And it might not be the best. Twos are kind of tricky with this. But it's the same thing. And maybe we'll keep the reaction leg. Then I'll take a picture of this. And I'll throw this in the channel. And if we find a better one, we'll do a better one. So that's a type 2 there, okay? That's a type 2. And that's what it's going to look like. And we want the ability to basically recognize these things. You know, I want everybody to be able to look and to, you know, recognize these things as they go on. And then as you make new highs, you know, just keep following. That's a little swing, but it's the only swing we got. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to, you know, worry about this stuff anymore. It goes through and it's over. Okay? It doesn't look like anything else clean there. Now we're just practicing, so there's nothing else real clean in here. All right, so that was a type 2. And my little eye spies something here. Switch gears for a minute. This is live. Take a look at this chart, guys. Let's just do some find Waldo here. Don't try to plug anything in specific. Just while we're here. Start with swings and see what they're doing. Let's just do a little sort of free flow practice here. I got to do my work for next week. Start with swings and see what they're doing. This is current. This is what went on all week. All week. Ah, Raj, you got it. Outside bar structure through the lows. How many of them? Grace says between June 12th and 13th. Yeah, okay, you see the swings, but just, you can see two, right? That's what sticks out for me. Okay, let's just start with mapping. Okay, let's say we have a swing here. And, you know, we have a swing here. We have a swing here. We have a littler swing here. We have a littler swing here. I can definitely see the crunch going on. Now, there's a good reason I want to highlight this. So I'm switching gears in my lesson because I see this in so many people, including me. Okay? I get a market like this. I have a swing, about yay big. Maybe I'm looking at all this, and I'm thinking I like longs. I pretty much know where the controlling sellers are. I do. I mean, you just look at them stomp that thing. See, this is they couldn't even break the low and go up here. See, this is one of those Momo situations. You guys see that? Yeah, they could not even. They just. Now, I see an outside bar, which I'd mark like this. And everybody look into themselves here, because sometimes when a market is driving one way, all we want to do is look for little mini reversals. And we just keep getting hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered over and over again. It's fine if you're going the right way to look for a mini reversal. But when I see this, right, look at them, hit, 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 zoom, all right? So often, if we're just tuned for reversals, we're always going to hit this, always. Now, all right, if you want to play this one, you know what? I'd give it to you. All right, this isn't bad. But let's view the market through outside bars. I'm telling you, once you find a structure, you can view it through that particular structure and nothing else. So let's view the market through this little outside bar structure. Because this is live, so I'm just going to break the lesson off and work live. Okay? So let's view the market through that structure. Basically, it's saying that this is a little mini swing high. But this is my major swing low, so let's see what happens. We test it. We go through it. And we make new lows, don't we? Okay. Take a look. That color isn't standing out, is it? Oh, well. We can use a little transparency. Do you see it again? And again, what we tend to do, if we're bent on looking for reversals, see, it's hitting here again. It's hitting here again. If we're bent on hitting little reversals, again, we're going to just play this little itty-bitty swing reversal. And we can do this until we get very frustrated. Anybody ever do that? it's like this. If a market's going down, what I'm saying is if a market's going down, and it's been going down for a while, say, every time it breaks a little swing, we try to get long. If a market's going down, every time it breaks a little swing, does a little reversal, we try to get long. Anybody ever do that for like an extended period of time? That was me last month, right? It's because we didn't adapt. And there's nothing wrong with that particular swap setup. But, you know, we do need to recognize. And so it's a subtle thing that every little, because it offers us a chance for a trade. Every little reversal is going to give us nothing. Now, some periods in the market, it's good to play every little reversal. All right? But when it's just driving, yes, right? Thank you. I wasn't going to pick on you. But yes, your relationship and the odd. And I don't even have to, I already know because we've been talking about it. We see it. And so every time this thing does a little bump, you're like, oh, this is the long. And even if you do get long, what happens, Nate? Even if you do get long, get a good entry, what happens? Well, even if you get some money out of it, you're nervous because you're only going to get a little piece, right? So even if you do, right, you do this little swap, you get long, you're going to get a little piece. And that's what happens. You do a little swap, and it just makes you nervous. And you know what? There are periods, Nate, in the market where you can just do that up and down, every little reversal. But then there are periods where the market is just driving. And that's where you need to get on every little pop. And by the way, Nate, you know this. Every little expansion of that. And so we all get trapped in it. As traders, we need to recognize that a little sooner. That's all. And I just want to bring these little things to people's attention. And Edward says, I will often get a 2-to-1. Yes, right, Edward? Edward, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of your 3-to-1, you'll get a 2-to-1, and it'll keep turning, and then you'll start thinking, oh, now I got to be nervous. I can't hang on. And then if we look at Grace, right, Grace is holding her stops and getting wiped sometimes from, earlier conversations. And it's basically because a market is driving. You got a good entry, and the market is driving you. It goes through those periods. And so I'm trying to say this as clear as possible, but notice if your little change in behaviors are getting you wiped. And if you notice that your little changes in behaviors are getting you wiped, look at what happens over here. Bang! See that? Change in behavior, right, Phil? Minor into major. Boom. And so the quicker we can recognize that as traders, we're waiting for that, Grace. I don't forget you guys. And I love that you guys talk about this, Grace was having big trades where she got on early and she was holding, back for break even or holding her stop, and it would come back because the market was driving down. And anything you guys do, I've doubled. Except for Lee. And Edward has some rules, which is nice. My rule 2 times in a row, and then you have a timeout. And a timeout is good. It gets you off the point of being stuck right there, off the point of contact. And so you take a little timeout, and then maybe you can see what you're doing. And this is what I do, Edward. Sometimes I'm doing that, and if I take a little timeout, and I see, oh, that's the one I need to hit. All right, so that was my little sidebar on this. Now let's follow this market. New lows. Do you guys see the next outside bar? Current. Aha. Right? So now we have a way to know if this market is going to keep doing that or reversing. I just thought I'd light up on that a little bit. Is it going to keep doing that or reversing? So we'll keep an eye on that. I really wanted to talk about this gold, but maybe one day. You know, before we do the live follow-up on the CAD, let me do a quick showing you guys me getting hammered, all right? You guys think you're the only ones? No, you're not the only ones. I get hammered too. All right, so we're going to follow up the CAD. The CAD's live, and you know what? We're going to follow up Tesla. And I think, Ricardo, I can answer your question about 2 swings on Tesla at the same time, because those 2 are live trades that are, you know, in progress. But before we get that, let me show you me getting hammered in this ES. All right, I'm watching the ES. Now, remember, the essence of a pressure cooker is where they threw them off the cliff. Okay, that's the essence of a pressure cooker, where they threw them off the cliff. And so when you understand the essence, you know, you can use it in various ways. And so I'm in here, and I'm watching this market. You know, I'm kind of like in the long side of this. Okay, kind of like in the long side. And I'm drawing my median line set. You know, basically, I'm doing my swing work. Now, I want you to see what I'm seeing here. Okay, I want you to see what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this gap. I'm seeing price pull back. See the swings just change? I'm seeing a lower low. So we can, you guys can see, right? We're making lower lows, okay? And now I'm seeing that switch again. So everybody follow my rhythm on this? So this is the ES. And I'm seeing it switch again. Okay. So I've got an idea. I want to get long for basically this wave, for new highs. Now, I don't necessarily have a pressure cooker, but what do I have here? Do I have where they threw them off the cliff? Yes. See, I got a mountain. I got me a mountain, right? And I got a gap swap. Good. Raj, you see the whole, you guys got to be careful, though, when you start driving through structures. But yes, this is what it did, right? That's the neighborhood. This one made this one do. And so what I'm thinking is I can play a mountain and take my ride in this ES. And so I'm using the principles of pressure cookers. Remember what I said on my chart about a pressure cooker. What is a pressure cooker but a projected mountain? That's a pressure cooker, but it's a projected mountain that's in a certain part of the swing. That's what a pressure cooker is. It's a projected mountain that's in a certain part of the swing, right, in a certain part of the impulse leg. But the essence is a projected mountain. So what I'm going to do here is just use this projected mountain idea to get me long for a trip, for new highs. So I watch. And I actually like that it's coming off hard, but I'm watching. And, I'm following price. And I can see where the next bit of sellers are going to be hanging out, somewhere in here. And, I want a little bit of room, so I watch and see what it does. I watch. Okay, there's my sellers. I want a little bit of room, so I watch and see what it does. I'm not ready to jump in yet. right? I want to watch and see. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I want some indication that this mountain is holding. All right, it starts to inch through the mountain a little bit. Now it looks like there's some kind of indication that this mountain is holding. Okay, there's no swap, notice, right? I noted that in my trade notes. There's no swap of any kind, but there is some indication that this mountain is holding. And I got a pretty line too. There is some indication here. And so as I watch, I'm ready to just go ahead and throw some orders down in here. And my stop. Okay. And I'm looking for new highs. So I'm playing a mountain within a swing. So I'm playing basically a mountain within a swing in order to. So I'm going to use this mountain in order to get me where I'm going, kind of a thing. All right. And I'm running close to a 4-tick stop. All right. And that's me getting busted by like a tick. And, this happens over and over and over in trading. I want everybody to see that. Now let me add to this. You ready? It is a bummer, but watch, Nate. I want everybody to know there is no golden trading where you just write all the time. It does not happen. Okay? There is no you're just right all the time trading and you're always the hero. There's plenty, and my week still came out decent, by the way. All right? My week still came out decent, but there's plenty of hiccups. I'm just trying to show that to everybody. So these things go back and forth. I got to sit here and decide as I come in here this morning. Okay? I've got to decide. Now do I want to hit this mountain? It's not exactly a pressure cooker, but it's a mountain, right? I've got to decide. Now that I got to hit this mountain, but I'm also looking. I got this feeling this market might come down. I'm also looking, right? I'm also looking. I can see them. I can see them. I can see the sellers, okay? I'm also looking in here. So, does anybody get to this point where they can't really work out if they're going to go long or they need to go short? Anybody ever do that and just sit there confused about it? Yeah. See, I'm going to do the same kind of thing we did in the euro here. Nate says every day. Good. It's one of the things that happens to us, and I can talk about this. It'd take longer than we have. But there is no formula for that, Nate. There is no better setup. There is no any of that. You just, it's something else. But we all go through it because the truth is no matter what pattern we use, it's going to have its opposite. There's always going to be a short trade or a long trade. If you're fighting a market, you'll always hit the wrong one. So I happen to be fighting this market now. And the thing that got me excited here was as price ran up hard. Oh boy. So I decided I'm going to sell this. I got a nice easy stop, right? I'm selling it for a turn rather than buy it. And I'm in the money. And I ain't too worried. And then I come to work. And now I look at this, and I'm popped. And so those things happen to us over and over. So the ES wasn't very kind to me this week. But you guys see me in the ES the other week and just bang, bang, bang. All I'm trying to say is this is trading. I get stops. You get stops. I get frustrated. You get frustrated. The pros who are out there looking super cool, if they ain't telling you they don't get frustrated, they're lying to you. If they ain't telling you they don't have bad weeks, they're lying to you. Now, as you get better with trading, all right, you'll be able to have most weeks where you come out on top. All right, as you get better, you get more of a handle. It takes some time, but there'll still be periods. There'll still be periods, and so this is just normal. This is just normal stuff, and so the rest of this market is next week's business. But this is just to say everybody kind of goes through that, and at some point you don't really even go through that all the time. All right. You decide what swing am I trading, what move am I trading, and you hit it. And then you learn from that. Boom. And now the red line might become center. Absolutely. We'll check that out next week. So let's do a couple live things real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. We got to come back to spot. We've been following spot for months. Okay, we got to come back to spot too. But let's look at very quickly if I can find it. Tesla. Okay. All I'm going to do is give you this Tesla weekly chart and say, find the pressure cooker. Don't worry about anything else. Just follow the instructions. And then we're going to follow this live. Okay? Because it's weekly. It'll give us time. Grace says, where's Lyft? I got Lyft on another page. We'll take a look at that next week, those guys too. So here's a Tesla weekly. Use about, that much data if you want. And Ricardo, if you want to play with your two swing thing, I'll talk about it later. Use those two. Okay, use those two and do some work. But use that, and then now let's go back to the CAD real quick, because we are watching the CAD. It sure beat this guy up, didn't it? But we are watching the 240. Aha. See, we watched it plow the pressure cooker on the 240. Didn't this kind of look like the Tesla chart? And it looks like it might be doing a type 2 here, so we'll see. We watched it. We watched it zoom, retest, and now we can watch this guy live and get kind of curious and see what happens. Okay, now we can watch this guy live and get kind of curious and see what happens. With these pressure cookers, you get a type 1, type 2, type 3, but there also is a case where it wanders off into a comatose thing around in here. And we need to see all of that. But we got a good way to frame this market. And we got it that far. And we'll go from there. And this yen, we're get up off the couch already. So we'll talk about that next week. So do some type 2 homework. Find pretty ones. I'll post mine in the channel so you have it as a reference. But see if you can find a few going up, find them going down. Look for some pretty ones. Use back data, use stocks, use whatever, all of that. And find some pretty ones. So we covered a whole bunch today anyways. We covered a whole bunch. So, and Grace, remind me about those Lyft and Ubers and stuff next week. We'll take a look. So thank you guys for your attention this week and today and the questions. And we will see you on Monday. All right. Have a good weekend.